Hello, welcome to the live stream slash YouTube recording version of our Junior Next Step Planning presentation. Whether you are watching us live or whether you are watching the recorded version of this, we are grateful for your engagement and participation. My name is Curtis Menke. I'm the McHenry High School College and Career Counselor. Ms. Bacigalupo?
Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole Bacigalupo. I'm the Junior Counselor for students' last names A through LE.
Thank you. Ms. Flores?
Hi, everyone. I'm Carla Flores. I'm the school counselor for class of 2027 for students' last names LF through Z.
Excellent. Thank you. And then we also have a special guest from MCC, Kristen.
Hi, I'm Kristen Mueller. I'm the Director of Admissions at McHenry County College.
Excellent. Great to be alongside such amazing colleagues, both in the building and in the community. Just as a reminder for those of you that have done this before, or even if you haven't, any of our live viewers, if you're watching this in real time at 8:31 a.m. on Thursday, September 11th, you can actually engage with us in real time, which is why we offer a live stream version of the presentation. In YouTube, where this is streaming, there's the comment box right below the video screen. You can actually ask us questions in real time. We will probably wait until the end of the presentation to respond to them, but we more than welcome and encourage you to ask those questions in real time. So with that, on with the show. I'm going to remove or send my colleagues backstage. I'll take the first couple of slides here. So towards the end of this presentation, we hope that you are a little more familiar with the 5 items on the screen. So the first one is more of a recap. Just what are the main next step resources that McHenry High School offers to help prepare your students and even yourselves as parents and guardians for what lies beyond the walls of McHenry High School? How can students engage with college reps, military recruiters? In other words, the opportunities that come to us at McHenry High School. The third one, junior year, standardized testing tends to kind of pick up steam. The ACT is in April. We want to make sure that our juniors and families are familiar with what the test is, the purpose of it, and even more specifically, the purpose depending on what options students are thinking. Our fourth bullet point, for those considering four-year colleges, how can students and families identify colleges of interest? There's 2,600 of them nationwide. How can we narrow that down to a much shorter list? And then we will end with Kristen at MCC. What are some of the local next step options right here within McHenry County? This slide right here, I include basically in every presentation I do, because in a lot of ways it kind of represents the whole point of my job, which is to help students identify what they might want to do after high school and then senior year act on those ideas and ambitions. I'm going to take a moment and share some statistics with our audience here based on last year's senior class, the class of 2025. Again, on the screen, we try to keep this topic as simple for our students as we can. Thinking about the future can be big and scary, and so we want to keep this topic as simple and reduce stress to the largest extent we can. So we summarize the next step options into these 4 main categories. Starting with the one in the top left, military, 6% of last year's graduating class, the class of 2025, went into military service. That is compared with only 1%. On average, the average American high school graduate, only 1% goes into military service. Last year, we had 6%. Going to the one kitty corner from it, four-year college in the bottom right, 29% of last year's seniors started away from home at a four-year college, living the college lifestyle in a residence hall away from home. The one to its left, next to it, we had 32% of last year's seniors start at our local in-district community college, McHenry County College, with the intent to transfer. The two at the bottom of the screen are very similar. They both represent 4 total years of college. They both represent a bachelor's degree. The difference is for students who choose the option in the bottom left, they're living at home for a year or 2 before they transfer to the bigger school to finish the bachelor's degree. And then up in the top right, our technical and trades. I'm going to break that one down into a couple different sets of statistics. Probably the most varied of the 4 options on the screen right now. 20% of last year's seniors, 1 in 5, went to an Illinois community college, with almost all of those being MCC, for a non-transfer technical or trade option. That could be sonography, that could be culinary, that could be welding or automotive or HVAC or diesel. There's all sorts of local opportunities through the community college system. 4% of last year's grads went into a labor union apprenticeship, and that number more than doubled from the prior year. Very, very proud of that number. 3% started at a private technical or trade school, with a couple of those being traditional trade schools, most of them being cosmetology schools. We had another 3% of last year's grads that started with directly into the workforce through some of our strongest local industry partners in and around McHenry County. So I am proud to make sure that we have options and resources for every student at McHenry High School, regardless of what paths they want to pursue. I like to tell students we have one goal for them as far as our role goes, and that goal is get trained or educated in something when you're done at McHenry High School. Kind of sticking with the theme of keeping the big, scary idea of the future as simple as we can, we summarize how we work with your students into one word every year, and junior year is explore. And what we mean by explore is seeing what's out there, getting out of the building, getting out of the community in many cases, and seeing what options lie beyond. And as often as you can, see it with your own eyes. We'll give you some examples on how to do that here in a little bit. But that is the junior year theme, explore. All right, I'm going to pass things over to Miss Bacigalupo. Welcome back, Miss Bacigalupo, and I'll let you take it away.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to go over some resources that we use with your students to help them explore their post-secondary plans. The first is Mr. Mankey sends out this looking forward email every Monday morning. It hits students' inbox, and there is a ton of information on it. It is a very verbose email, but what we ask for students is that they first look at the calendar. That's super important so they can figure out who is coming to our school, what's happening when, and can make sure if it's something they want to attend, they put it on their calendar. And then also if they could just glance at the headings to see what pertains to them. For example, if I am a student who wants to go on a college visit this year, which students have 2 college visits that they can have excused for attendance each year, junior and senior year, I would take a look at the bottom left-hand side, that college visit absence procedure, so I know what to do if I want to go on a college visit. It's important junior year for students to start checking their email at least once a day, whether it's when they first get to school or during AIM, so that they don't miss any important information. Next, we have Schoology. So every student has a Schoology course called Next Step Resources. The section 2027 is just students are graduating in 2027, so they're in that section of the class. It's kind of our hub for all of our school counseling materials that we use with students. So as you can see, students can schedule meetings with us, which all students have been invited to schedule a one-on-one individual meeting with Mrs. Flores and myself. We do 4 classroom presentations a year with them, but we also like in the fall to check in with them on their individual plan to go over how classes are going, how many credits they have, what are they thinking of doing after high school, so we can give them individualized support based on what they want to do. We have school links is in there, the college and career guide, the list of college reps and events, the MCHS course guide, all really important stuff. So we use school links frequently with students. We've already been in there once during a classroom presentation in U.S. history classes. In school links, there's a ton of things for students to do. So first, there's the MCHS 4-year course planning guide. That could be helpful for students who want to get a jump on planning their senior year courses to make sure that they've met prerequisites for any courses they want to take, or if there's a capstone course that they want to take that they added in their elective spots. Career exploration. If your student has no idea what they want to do after high school, that's okay. All right. We don't expect every student to know what career they're going to go into at 22. And right now they're 16, 17. But there are some assessments that they can take in there to kind of find jobs that match with them based on what they like to do, their interests, their skills, their personality. So it's just a good launching point to get some ideas. There's a college search feature, which we're going to go over a little bit later. It kind of helps students who are looking for colleges or trade schools kind of figure out how to search for specific schools. There's a scholarship search. That's a really big thing for seniors to be working on, is scholarships. Financial aid support. a college application manager. Students will be using Schoollinks to request transcripts and letters of recommendation when they're applying to colleges. So it's good for them to check out and get familiar with Schoollinks this year. And then we also partner with people in the community, different companies, organizations that post employment and internship opportunities as well. Next is the McHenry College and Career Guide. This is a slideshow of, I think, over 180 slides of a bunch of information. I use this myself with students. If your student wants to learn more about a topic, let's say they're interested in the military, but they're not sure what joining looks like, what the benefits are, they can click on that Military and Service Academies tab right there, and it'll take them to that spot in the slideshow. And there's a ton of information and links that they could check out. Chances are, if they have a question, they can probably answer it in this college and career guide. If not, of course, they can come to us and we can help them, but this is just a really good resource to use. So we have a bunch of college and military reps who come to school, not even just college and military. We have people from the trades, specific careers, who come out to present to our students. And that's a great opportunity for them to learn more about different colleges, careers, how to get there. They can ask different questions. We recommend students attend 4 college rep visits this fall for juniors, just so they can kind of compare and contrast and get a bunch of information to further explore. So they can see who's coming when by clicking the College Military Reps and Next Step Events link in Schoology. Again, that's the screenshots from Schoology. And then on the right-hand side, you can see kind of a breakdown. It shows the date, who's coming, when they're coming, what period, and where they will be here in the school. A lot of times they are here in the College Career Center. Sometimes we're up in the Warrior Room. For example, U of I, a ton of our students apply to U of I, so that'll be up in the Warrior Room. There's also a list of questions students can ask reps, hyperlinked in this document too. Again, this is the year to be taking advantage of meeting with college reps, recruiters, people from specific careers to get some more information so that students are prepared to act during their senior year. Some upcoming events that we have. So October 28th, we're hosting the ASVAB. So that is a military assessment. It's kind of similar to how the ACT, SAT is for college. ASVAB is the entry-level assessment for the military. We're hosting it here. If your student is even thinking about the military as a junior, it is good to take it this year. They can take it again next year if they want. Similar to the ACT, SAT, it's kind of good to take that test multiple times because that test determines what kind of jobs they can have in the military. Again, your student can email Mr. Mankey or come see their counselor if they would like to take that. We have some more evening events. So September 17th, we have a financial aid and scholarship presentation. I think we have maybe one slide on that topic in this presentation, but we spent over an hour on it next week, so definitely check that out. We also host the MTI Expo, October 8th. We are really lucky to host this event. It's a county-wide event, but it's here at McHenry High School where we have people from the industries of manufacturing come and they can talk about employment, internships that they have. So if you're interested in trades, industry, anything like that, it's cool to come check out with your student. Then October 9th, the MCC is hosting their 4-year college fair. I think our college fair is great. This one is huge. There's so many colleges that come. It's a great opportunity for students and parents to just walk around, chat with reps, get some brochures, and just get some more ideas of colleges that are out there. October 22nd is our military recruiter panel. If your student's thinking of the military, but maybe isn't sure what branch to join, how they differ, what their recruitment process looks like, all of the recruiters come from all of the branches and they will kind of talk about what enlisting looks like at their branch. And there's also a breakout session where students and families can ask recruiters questions. So that's really good. Again, I would recommend coming as a family because usually when our students are considering the military, it's kind of a family decision just due to the commitment of going that route. So that's a really good event as well. All right, now I'm handing things over to Mrs. Flores.
Thank you, Ms. Bajigalupo. So now we kind of want to switch gears and talk a little bit about testing. So junior year is that year that a lot of students associate with the big test they take in the spring. So that is the ACT, which juniors will take on April 15th of 2026. The ACT is now that required test for students to take in the spring. Previously, it was the SAT. Really, they're both college entrance exams, where the ACT has more emphasis on reading, the SAT has more emphasis on math. And then right around the corner on September 24th, all juniors will also be taking the pre-ACT, so they'll get some exposure to what to expect in spring in the very near future. In addition to those two dates, we also have both SAT and ACT have many national testing dates that are on Saturdays. Now, these are optional testing dates for students that want to take the test again for the chance at a better score. You know, being exposed to a test multiple times can likely lead to a better score. Or if, you know, come April 15th, your junior has an off day or just different factors going on that may, you know, impact the score, they can always sign up for an optional Saturday ACT or SAT and get a chance for a better score. And we are hosting on February 14th the ACT right here in McHenry High School. So we highly encourage and recommend all of our juniors to sign up for this February ACT date and take the SAT prior to the April day. On that February 14th date that we are hosting, you will initially pay the cost of the test around $68 on ACT.org, but District 156 is covering the cost of the test by providing you a credit of the amount you pay for the ACT on PowerSchool for future fees for you. So that will be covered. It'll just be covered on the back end of things. And if any of your juniors qualify for free and reduced lunch, they are eligible for fee waivers and would not have to pay at all initially when they register on ACT.org. So now getting a little bit into the purpose of these standardized tests and how they can benefit students. They benefit students regardless of which pathway they're going after high school. For example, on the military side of things, we talked a little bit about the ASVAB and how that aptitude test prepares them and is part of the enlistment process. It's very similar to the ACT and SAT, but a strong score on the ACT could also help open the door to more opportunities and more options for military careers. So we highly encourage any of our military-bound students to try their hardest on the ACT as well. And then if you have any students that are interested in apprenticeships or getting connected with a labor union after high school, some of them are very competitive, and having a strong ACT or SAT score can be the component that gets them into the apprenticeship program they want, especially if it's a competitive or highly demanded program. For example, electrician apprenticeships are pretty competitive, and a strong ACT score can be a really helpful component to their application. Now, a little bit about how SAT and ACT impacts four-year colleges. So we're in a pretty unique wave of things with college admissions and standardized test scores. Many more four-year colleges than ever remain test optional for their admissions process. Now, if your student is considering like a selective four-year college, we still, even if it's test optional, encourage them to send in test scores, just because it can be a strong component to their application that helps them get admitted to the school. So we encourage them to, explore still sending their score, even if it's test optional. They can meet with their counselor and Mr. Menke to kind of have a conversation about what that looks like for each school if they have any doubts or concerns about how test optional works with a school they're considering. There you could also see that a lot of colleges still require test score. So some might be test optional, but there are many that are still requiring test scores for admissions. And you can see some out-of-state examples there. For example, Florida, Georgia, and some other states require test scores. So any college your student is interested in those states would require it. As well as many Ivy League or highly selective colleges, it'll be a requirement to send in the ACT score with their college application. Now, even in addition, we have highlighted here scholarships. So what we've talked about here in this slide so far is the purpose of admissions, how test scores impact a student getting admitted to a school. Now, another part that you'll see with test scores is that they influence how much scholarship money your student can be offered. So I can show you on the next slide just a visual of what that could look like for your student. This is Michigan Tech University's merit scholarship breakdown. So on the left, you can see GPAs ranging all the way up to 4.0 and how the GPA can impact how much scholarship money they're receiving per school year. And then across the top, you can see from the left to right how what their ACT score is also influencing how much scholarship money they're being offered each school year. So for a student that has a 4.0 GPA, having a 26 or 27 the first time they take the ACT can lock in $14,000 per year at this school. And if they were to retake it again and get a 29 or higher, that would bump them up to $17,000. So $3,000 per year across 4 years. So this is a really important component we're trying to help explain to juniors, that how they do on the ACT and also just their GPA, how the grades they're getting in their classes can quite literally pay off in thousands of dollars of scholarship money. And on the next slide here, we can see another example, Mizzou, which is another school we have students in McHenry interested in. And it's a very similar breakdown where you see the GPA increase as well as the ACT or SAT score influencing how much scholarship money they receive. Which is also why we encourage students to take the test more than once, and possibly get a better score and increase their scholarship money. Now, we also want to help explain to juniors that standardized tests like ACT or SAT can also help them potentially avoid future tests. And we're specifically talking about placement tests that colleges may require. So what a placement test is, this is a test that your student may be asked to take or required to take by the college in order to help place them in the correct English or math class at the college level. Oftentimes they have a minimum score, where if a student has this score on the ACT or SAT, they can be exempt from the placement test and go straight into whichever English or math course they are placed into. So getting a strong ACT score can help them avoid that test. Placement test, if students don't perform well on this placement test, it could possibly mean additional classes, remedial English or math classes that they would have to pay for and take in addition prior to getting into a credit-bearing English or math class. So those remedial classes would still have the same cost of a college class, but wouldn't be a credit-bearing class. So it'd essentially be more courses and more money to pay, which is also, a big reason for them to focus on ACT or SAT so that they can hopefully avoid taking any extra classes. So in addition to the ACT, we also have a standardized test called the PSAT/NMSQT. Now, this is a test that students are going to be given the chance to take this October. A Google form will be sent out asking students. Last year, we had around 70 juniors take it, which is great. We're hoping to have similar, if not higher numbers this year as well. But the PSAT/NMSQT is for students to qualify for merit scholarships. So there's many different scholarships or recognitions that they can get based on how they do on this test. These results don't impact college admissions. It's really just commit to this test and possibly get scholarship money. The district is actually covering the cost of this test entirely, so students don't have to pay for it at all. They just have to commit to some time, take the test, and possibly get much scholarship money for this. Now, also, since we're talking about standardized exams, we wanted to talk a bit about AP exams. So students oftentimes know that with AP classes or specifically AP exams that they have the ability to earn college credit. So we just wanted to explain a little bit about how that works. So if a student scores at least a 3 out of 5 on their AP exam, it's possible for them to get college credit. Now, some schools may require a 4 or 5 on the AP exam. It really depends on the school, like what score do they require? What does a score on this exam specifically translate to at their university? So since it's a, per college decision, how many credits, what class does this cover? College Board has this great website called Credit Search Policy where you can look up exactly how much credit is earned with this exam with this college. So we oftentimes help students figure out exactly what will a 4 on AP US history equal at Mizzou or versus U of I. So that's a really good comparison tool to use for any AP exams they've either already taken or maybe ones they have lined up on their plate for May of their junior year. And Mr. Menke, I'm going to go ahead and switch it over for you and help us keep talking about more college admissions information.
Thank you, Ms. Flores. So this slide right here is really important for juniors to consider, particularly juniors that are considering any options that involve the word college. If we're looking at four-year schools, there are quite literally over 2,600 of them nationwide. And how do we narrow that down to a much smaller, more manageable list? And for that, we encourage students to kind of take a look inward, evaluate their wants and needs. What are things that you need in that institution? And then what are a couple of things that you want, to make it the best place that you can? Ultimately, we encourage students to kind of frame things as we call them fit factors. So basically, what are the three things that we need to fit that institution? The obvious one is academic. You want to make sure that they have the major that you want. They have the training program that you want, as well as the fact that you'll feel like you can learn there. You feel like you can be successful in the classroom. You feel like you can thrive as a student there. There's also financial fit. We want to make sure that we're looking at a variety of enough options to give ourselves some financial flexibility and making sure that we're looking at institutions that, hopefully aren't going to involve long-term debt to the extent we can. However, when it comes to that social or community fit, a lot of that has to do with what we see on the screen right now. You want to make sure that not only do you feel like you can be successful there, but you also want to make sure that you feel like you can simply be happy there, that you could find your people, that you feel like you can thrive outside of the classroom, in the campus community, in the greater community. There's a huge difference between attending the University of Illinois Chicago, where you've got over 20,000 students right there in the heart of the city, and Western Illinois University, which is a smaller public school in a rural, smaller community. And there's no right or wrong there. It's just whatever feels right for you. And so this is these fit factors on screen right now are ones that we're going to challenge your juniors to take a look at and really kind of consider inward, what are two or three of the things on the screen right now that are most important to your student, and that will help us narrow those schools down so that we can make informed choices senior year. One of the big ways to do that, again, Ms. Bacigalupo mentioned before that we have tools such as School Links that can help us narrow things down. Ms. Flores is going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But one of the best ways that you can get a feel for a school to see if, especially that social fit, like, do I feel like I could be happy here? Do I feel like I could find my people? Is to go visit the schools themselves. I will admit sometimes that is easier said than done. Visiting a school, visiting a college, it means time. And it means resources, the funds needed to get there, also depending on how far away you're going. We encourage you to consider using the natural breaks in the school year, summer, spring break, certain holidays. This next part I'm going to encourage is much easier said than done, but we also consider do your best to try to go visit schools when they're in session. So in other words, there's a big difference between visiting a school in the end of June when there's no students there and visiting it in the middle of October, where they're right in the middle of their bustling fall semester, and you really get a sense for the vibe of the school and for the students there. Juniors and seniors are allowed 2 college visit days each of the 2 years. If you do need more than that, we can direct you to administration, and usually they can work with families as long as you're communicating with us. We can also give you, sample questions to ask. We do strongly encourage that when you go visit schools, don't just do the self-guided tour. Don't just drive there and kind of walk around campus yourself. Schedule a visit through the admissions office. The admissions office at every college, they're the recruiters, they're the marketers, they're the ones who go to the high schools to try to sell students and sell families on why their school is the one that's important. And you want them to know that you were there at the school. There are some colleges that will actually give small scholarships if you literally have taken the time to go visit their school while a high school student. So again, you want them to know that you were there. There's other schools where visiting the school can actually help you get in. Some colleges use a metric called demonstrated interest, which is a very literal term. That means how are you showing with your actions a school your interest? And in some cases, that can actually help you get in. And so again, and you want to tip the scales in your favor in every way possible. And so not only are you learning about the school, but again, you can also just taking a visit might actually help you get into some places. This slide I like to work into every presentation I do. Access for students with disabilities is very important to us. So for students who in high school have 504 plans, IEPs, health plans, where there's some health related factor or other that can interfere with education or access to education and learning, most institutions nationwide will honor that and has their own sets of accommodations they can provide. Senior year, we can kind of coach you and your student a little bit more on how to do this. Essentially, you would identify a college's Office of Access and Disability. You typically bring your documentation with you and you set up an intake meeting, and then they would evaluate what you had in high school and then see what they have at the college level. The accommodations can look a little different from high school to college. All public schools nationwide must offer disability services because they receive federal funds. Private schools technically don't have to, but most of them do anyways because they know if they don't offer disability services, they're going to lose out on a big chunk of applicants. So private schools, most of them do offer accommodations through some kind of disability services office. The next couple of slides are on just a couple of reasons why I like to see our seniors who are applying to four-year colleges include at least one, if not two, of the public schools in Illinois. Not that I'm trying to convince every student and family to stay in Illinois. However, there are some things that the public Illinois schools can do that others can't. So on the screen right now, there's 13 schools. We have our in-district community college, MCC, as well as the 12 public universities in Illinois: U of I, Urbana-Champaign, UIC, Illinois Springfield, Northern, Southern, Eastern, Western, Northeastern, Illinois State, and there's a couple others in there as well. So looking at the bullet points on the right side of the screen, particularly the three at the bottom, these schools can do, all 13 of these schools have to do all three of those things. They legally have to give your student some kind of college credit if they get at least a 3 on any AP exam. That's actually state law. The middle one, because all of our dual credits, our college credits earned through dual credit classes at McHenry High School, are through MCC, which is a public school in Illinois. They are most likely to transfer to the other public universities in Illinois. Again, the U of I's, Illinois State, Northern, Southern, Eastern, Western. And then the last bullet point on this screen involves something, a newer state initiative called the Seal of Biliteracy. Essentially, senior year, if our students can demonstrate fluency in two languages, that can actually get them free college credit at all 13 of these schools. So again, all the more reason to have at least one, if not two, of the public schools in your final application list. Right here, I've got 8 schools on screen. This is a very simple slide. If you start senior year and a student's total or cumulative grade point average is at least that number, they will be automatically admitted. Again, all the more reason to have 1 or 2 of the schools in there, if nothing else, just to have something that's certain. And then this screen right here, most of these schools, the public schools in Illinois, have some kind of free tuition program that's all based, or I should say mostly based on family income. So essentially, if the $ number next to the schools on the screen, if the family income for 2024 was at or below that number, your student might be, I guess in your case it'd be for 2025, but your student might be able to go there tuition free. So again, all the more reason to include 1 or 2 of the schools on the screen. One more slide for me, and then I'm going to pass things back over to Ms. Bacigalupo in a moment here. Essentially, and this slide just kind of wraps up what we've been talking about here. At the end of the day, four-year colleges, when if we're fast forwarding a year from now, and your student is now senior and they're applying to colleges, those colleges are really trying to determine those 3 things on the screen. Will the student be academically successful there, which is the obvious one, because they want to make sure your student is successful in the classroom? Will they fit in the community? Will they fit in with the vibe of the school? And ultimately, will they stay there? Will they be academically successful and happy there, ultimately leading to them being there for all 4 years and earning that bachelor's degree in that 4-year span? All right, I'm going to pass things back over to Ms. Bacigalupo.
All right. If your student is thinking about playing athletics in college, please have them come check in with their counselor. The reason being, there are specific classes that students have to take to play at that level, the Division I or II level. They need to take the 16 NCAA approved core courses. The good news is the top 4 are built into our graduation requirements, not an issue there. The tricky part can be that last bullet point, the 3.5 additional classes of the top 4 or a world language. If we have a student who's a junior and they've never taken a world language and they want to play, let's say, basketball at the D2 level, we have to make sure that they fulfill those requirements by choosing some NCAA approved elective courses or making sure they have a 4th year of math or science in their requests for their senior year. So again, just make sure they come down. There's a worksheet we can fill out with them. And they can actually keep it as a resource when they're choosing their classes. Here's some for your college admissions requirements. So typically it's 4 years of English, 3 to 4 years of math, 3 to 4 years of science, 3 to 4 years of social science. Those are kind of built into our graduation requirements. The English, math, and science are. Something that can get a little bit tricky is if your student took issues their freshman year, revolutions their sophomore year, and are looking to take the regular 1 semester government class their senior year, they're actually going to fall short half a credit or 1 class of that social science minimum, the 3 credits. Not a big deal. They just have to make sure that they take a social science elective to fulfill those 3 years. So what's school dependent is the world language and fine arts requirements. Typically, we see more selective schools require a world language or recommend a world language. Fine arts, it's kind of dependent on school. For example, California public schools do require a fine art credit. I know I had a student in my office last week who was thinking about applying to California schools and hasn't taken a fine art class. So we talked about making sure one is in his schedule for senior year. We actually have a brand new dual credit art appreciation class that could check 2 boxes. It counts as a fine art credit and is a dual credit class, so they can get college credit for that class also. For some schools, they might say, let's say 3 years of math and science are required, but 4 are recommended. If a school is in your student's list and 4 years is recommended, I would say they should be taking a 4th year of math and science. You just want to make sure that you're the most competitive applicant for that school. So not just doing the bare minimum, but going above and beyond as well. Applying to college can be a big source of stress and anxiety for students. I know I've had a couple in my office who have looked at their GPA and said, "Ooh, I want to go to a 4-year school, but I'm really not sure if that's in the cards for me. I didn't do as well as I wanted to my freshman year. Maybe my GPA is in the high 2s or low 3s." A big fact to keep in mind is that about 75% of 4-year colleges accept 75% of their applicants. So 3/4 of colleges are really not that selective and take 3/4 of the amount of students who apply. So again, when they're making their list of schools, making sure that they have those reach schools, those target schools, those safety schools is really important. But, make sure that they reference that slide Mr. Mankey was talking about earlier. I think there's a lot of schools that are not out of reach for a lot of our students, which they might not know. Now I'm going to hand things off to Mrs. Flores.
Thank you, Ms. Bacigalupo. So here we kind of just want to recap what should juniors be doing now and what should they expect in the next year or so. So right now, this is where we want students identifying schools or identifying possible pathways for them. And we highly recommend them using School Links to help them research different colleges. They can run filters like we mentioned before based on specific things that fall under their best fit academically, socially, and financially. They can favorite schools on School Links and have things saved. Our aim is for students that are going to college to apply to 4 to 8 schools. That's how many we're looking for. I know a lot of students maybe have 1 or 2 schools in mind, so we're hoping to have them build that. If we look on the next slide, we can see that within those 4 to 8, that's a good range of schools to apply to, with at least one likely or safety school, and then also 2 target schools. So what that means, the likely school is one where they're essentially like a guarantee to get in. So whether that's their GPA at a 4-year school puts them on track to automatically be accepted into the school, whether that's MCC where they know they're going to be accepted by earning their high school diploma, and then some target schools where they are a good competitive match with their GPA, their test scores, what they bring to the table puts them in a good competitive position to get accepted. So 4 to 8 is what we recommend for students to apply to. Now, as far as when to apply, September through November of their senior year is when most college applications are completed and submitted. Many colleges will open their application in the summer before senior year. So a lot of juniors can get a head start this upcoming summer with their applications, but we do recommend them not officially hitting submit until the school year has started and they get to touch base with parents as well as their counselor and Mr. Menke, and we can just kind of review things with them, make sure things look good and have no unanswered questions. And then as far as the deadlines for schools, November 1 is the big initial early action deadline. So that September through November frame of applying to colleges a lot of times is in specific to the early action November 1 deadline. Early action is non-binding. It is exactly what it says it is. You are applying early and taking action early on your applications so that you can find out if you're admitted earlier and have a little bit more time to make a decision about where you'd like to go. Not to be confused with early decision, which is not as common and is a binding commitment that you make to a school. You apply early decision. That means you are 100% planning to go here if you're admitted and will withdraw your applications at other schools. So we can help students understand the terminology of different deadlines as they see different things come up with schools. There are many schools with regular deadlines that are not until January 1 or possibly even all the way through summer after senior year. And then also program deadlines, you may find that some colleges may have one deadline in general, but maybe a highly competitive program like nursing or computer science at a certain school might have an earlier deadline. So that's something to keep an eye out for as well. And then just want to go back and kind of mention that although some schools may have either rolling admissions or not a specific deadline or not something until way down the road at the end or even after senior year, those schools may still have scholarship deadlines that are much earlier. Some can be as early as November 1, that main date that I mentioned earlier. You may see November 15th or in December. So really, this is why we encourage students to be prepared with where they'd like to apply and be ready to work on their applications, especially in September and October, so that we can be proactive and not potentially miss any important deadlines. And now just a little bit, we mentioned we have a financial aid presentation coming up on September 17th, which will also be recorded at the same time and available to view. But we have next year is when your student will complete the FAFSA. So the FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. And the FAFSA alone is one application that helps your student apply to 3 different types of financial aid: loans, work study, and grants. Now, this is for federal government financial aid, state government financial aid, as well as institutional aid directly from the colleges at your schools. So this is something that students will complete on October 1 and on from their senior year, and it's something that will be completed every year that they will be a college student. It's also an Illinois graduation requirement, so it's something we will definitely provide a lot of support to families for throughout senior year, so that your student is prepared and has that completed. You may find some colleges also have deadlines of when they want the FAFSA completed by, and they're usually in alignment with any scholarship deadlines as well. So now a little bit about scholarships too is colleges will oftentimes offer students scholarships automatically with no additional application other than their admissions application. Colleges will also have scholarship applications they can apply to in addition to those admissions applications. And then there's also local and national sources for scholarships. So we have a lot of resources on our Schoology page and these websites listed here, where your student can, spend time after their applications and after the FAFSA applying to scholarships. So this is something that we want students to make time for throughout their senior year and be prepared for. So we'll have a lot of prep and supports available to your students for that. So lots to look out for in the next 12 months, but we will be here every step of the way. I would also like to make some time for us to introduce Kristen Mueller from MCC and have her share some MCC specific information.
Hi, my name is Kristen Mueller. I'm the Director of Admissions at McHenry County College. I'm going to go over some facts about the college itself, programs, different opportunities to give yourself some just an overview of what's happening in the community and different ways you can use this as a resource. So a little bit about the college is that McHenry County College is the in-district's community college that is the home for everybody who attends McHenry High School, as well as the larger community. So students who attend McHenry High School are in district with McHenry County College, paying those lower cost tuition prices. And as we alluded to before, everyone who applies to the college is accepted. So we are open to the community, but there are lots of benefits to what that means is that we have a lot of resources to help students with degrees, classes, whether that's taking a single class between, coming back for the summer for your four-year institution and just getting ahead in a class, or doing a semester with us, or like I said, 2 years and then continuing on to a four-year institution or going straight into a career. So a lot of different ways that you can utilize us. So this is a snapshot of what the college looks like from above. We do have all these different buildings are all connected. So it's actually quite on the medium size of things. We have about 5,000 students that attend, but not everybody's here at the same time. So you get that smaller size feel, even though we're not quite super tiny. Like we're kind of a medium sized school, but you can get from each point within 5 minutes or so. So it's not a problem if you had classes across the campus, which isn't usually the case, but it's very easy to get from one point to the other. And it's nice to have so many different things going on and in such a tight knit way so that you're not in like separate buildings that are separated. So as I mentioned, it is open access for all students with that lower in-district tuition price, but it's not free, right? So we do work with financial aid, so our programs are financial aid eligible, and we have tons of scholarships for students to help them reduce that overall cost of college. We want to work with students to utilize all their resources so that they are paying as little as they need to, as getting as much out of our resources as possible so that you can save your money for future needs. And in addition to that, we have very supportive faculty, great classrooms that are very hands-on, small class sizes. We mentioned accommodations earlier, so access and disability services to help make sure students are successful, and also very flexible scheduling. So students in college it's not like high school where you're not there 5 days a week, you're not there all day long. You're usually there just for a couple days out of the week for the classes that you signed up for. So that could be during the day, in the evening, it could be online courses. So everyone's schedule in college looks a little bit different. Like I said, not everybody's here at the same time because everyone has a slightly different schedule according to the classes that they need for what they're studying or for what their goals are. So it's very kind of different feel than what high school's like. And in addition, we have lots of ways to help students be successful, great tutoring resources, advising, transfer support, support with helping students figure out get experiences for their long-term career or help figure out what those careers might be, get experiences in those careers. So we want to make sure that students are utilizing all the resources they can outside of just the classroom itself. Another way about getting involved, we have lots of different ways for our students to get involved, from student jobs, clubs, organizations, the fitness center, different experiences for students. So we have a very robust student life, and that's something we're very, very proud of. So the community is very strong here. And a little bit about our degrees and certificates. So we have both associate's degrees as well as certificates. Associate's degrees are 2-year degrees, which either are designed to transfer. So the ones you see listed here, 2 years of college if you're being full time, and then continuing on for another 2 years of college to receive your bachelor's degree at the institution that you choose, or an associate's of applied science AAS degrees, which we have over 30 of them, and those are designed to get students straight into that career upon completion. Some of them can continue on for a bachelor's degree, but the goal is really to get people skilled up in very specific career areas. So here's just a few of them listed here, like HVAC, nursing, fire science, business management. So lots of different opportunities there. Um, and we also have certificates, which are smaller versions of those associate's degrees. So if someone wants to just take like a bite size and just finish a certificate in a semester or two and go straight into the workforce, you could do that. And those are classes that are focused in that specific career area and not taking like general education courses. So I'll dive into that in just a moment. So if you are on the transfer path, as I mentioned, students can take one class, like let's say it's a summer class between their 4-year colleges, or they could be a full 2-year degree with us. So if you're going for that full associate's degree, it's going to be one of these 4 listed here. So pretty much any major can fall into the Associates of Arts because that means liberal arts. But if it's more science or math based, then it'd be an Associates in Science because those require more science and math classes. Or if it's fine arts or music, we have a degree that's more specialized for that, as well as one specialized for engineering for those going into engineering majors. So most fall into that Associates in Arts or Science bucket. What that means is that you're taking general education coursework, so those first 2 years of college, which are kind of very similar no matter which college you're at. Similar to high school, there's a requirement for writing, humanities, social sciences, math science. So you got to hit those buckets, and then you hit your major buckets or electives, and that's where you have a lot more flexibility or classes specialized for what you're going into. So when you're a transfer student, we want to work with you to say where are your end goals and how can we align that up with the college that you're transferring onto, so it's making sense for your long-term plan. So the next to your slide here is going to show you a variety of different schools that we actually work with very closely for transfer plans. It's not listing everything. I kind of made that to overwhelm so that you can see we have a variety of different schools, both locally and further away from across the United States that we have designated plans for. So our transfer website page has over 200 plans that you can dive into that are organized by university as well as by major. But we work with schools beyond what's listed there. It might just be a school we work less commonly with. So if that's the case, we would work closely with that university to figure out what do you need to do to make sure you're taking the right classes in the right order and everything transfers smoothly. So we actually have a university center that McHenry County College hosts, and this is not located on our main campus. This is in Woodstock. So this is the building you see in the background here, just off the Woodstock Square, and that's where our students who are part of the university center will come to actually have in-person classes with 4 university partners. So you'll see that address is listed there. But what's really exciting is that this is for students who have completed their first 2 years of college with MCC and then want to transfer on to those 4-year institutions. But instead of having to move away, they're actually kind of moving into our community. So the next slide here is going to show you the variety of different programs that we have that through those programs. So it's these 4 universities with these specific majors listed. And you'll see that there's only one biology listed, only one psychology listed. That's because the universities have agreed not to compete with one another. We want to have different programs for different, career pathways. So what we've done is we work really closely with these universities to make sure that the 2 years of MCC line up directly with the 2 years at these universities so that it's a very clear and straightforward experience. What's also really exciting is that we've worked really closely, if you want to go on to the next slide, with each of the high schools so that those students who are already taking dual credit classes can potentially finish a full year of college through the high school and then continue to MCC for just 1 year of college with MCC and then transfer smoothly into those last 2 years for their bachelor's degree with the university center. So if this is something you're considering, if you think this is a model that works for you, you could scan that QR code there to see those individual plans. And if you want to dive into it, depends on what we want to do here. We have some options that you can actually view and dive into that yourself, but our transfer advisors, our dual credit advisors, and our school counselors can help you figure that out. So if that's something you're considering, we can be really careful at planning which classes you're taking during high school. So this is specific to McHenry. Anybody on our website can view this. So if you went into any of these, you'd actually see which classes at McHenry High School you could be taking during your high school experience over your 4 years to kind of finish up 1 year of college. So if we're going to go into this example for psychology, let's say you wanted to go to psychology through NIU at the University Center. It might have popped into a different screen potentially. It would actually show you those classes. So that first table you see listed here are the classes at McHenry that you could take, which then would easily help you transition to completing even a full year of college coursework. But you don't have to do that. You could say, hey, I want to take 1 or 2 of these classes, and that's just 1 or 2 classes less that you need to take once you get started with us, right? So we're not asking you to complete a full year of college while you're still in high school. Potentially you could, or you could make your way towards that, but any class you take while you're still in high school and do well in is 1 less class you have to take once you get to college. So I think that's a great way to maximize what you're doing in high school and maybe use AP credits or other things to chip away at this as well. But I also think it's a cool example of how your work in high school can help you really progress in college, no matter if it's with MCC or going on future anywhere else. This is a good example of what that looks like. So reminder that there is a college fair that MCC is hosting on October 9th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. So please come out. We're going to have over 120 colleges here at this fair. You can come shop around, talk to different universities. MCC will be there too, so talk to us. But this is a great time to really jumpstart or continue that college search and then figure out where you might want to be visiting or following up with. So this is a great time as a junior to come out to this and maximize those relationships. All right. So talking about that straight to career pathway, I mentioned it earlier. This is an example for welding and fabrication. So we have a degree in welding and fabrication, but we also have those certificates you see listed in that arrow. So you could start with that small certificate, that production welding class certificate, which is 5 classes only in welding. You could stop there, go straight into welding. But it's only 2 more classes for that basic certificate. A lot of people do that. They're like, hey, I want to progress and get higher, responsibilities in my job. And then 2 more classes after that, you've got the welding certificate. And from there, it's just a few more classes for the full degree. So it's really exciting to make it more, I guess, digestible to get through a program along the way and stepping stones. For some students like that plan, or some students say, hey, I know I'm going for the associate's degree. I'm going to maximize it and get done as quickly as I can. That's okay too. So we're happy to plan with you whatever makes sense for your particular goals. All right, and then once you're senior, you would be applying to the college, you'd be accepted right away. And then remember, there's all these other things we talked about: applying for the FAFSA, going through scholarships, sending colleges your high school transcripts. So there's a lot going on your senior year. Just knowing you're going to get started with that as early as this month of next year. So this is your time, like we said earlier, to do this exploration so that you can jump into action your senior year. And if you want to have reach out to us for anything at all, this is my contact information, my office's contact information. Very happy to provide a tour of the campus or a one-on-one conversation or just answer your questions. We want to make sure that you have an opportunity to check it out and get anything you need.
All right. Thank you, Kristen, so much for that information. Again, MCC is our strongest post-secondary partner. Quite literally 49% of last year's graduates took their next step at our in-district community college, MCC, some for transfer, some for some of their amazing shorter-term technical options. We're going to pause just for a moment and give our live viewers one more opportunity to ask any questions that you may have right here in real time. You can enter those right into the comment section of YouTube where you're watching this video. I know we had a question before about accessing this presentation. I shared the link to our college and career guide, which has all of this information in there. If that did not answer your question, you are more than happy to either drop another question in the comments or just email me separately, and I can get back to you. So to give our live viewers one more opportunity to ask any other live questions to us right here, right now, Ms. Bacigalupo and Ms. Flores, I am going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you each the same question. And that question will be, if there was one tip that you could give to your juniors right now, one action that they could be taking, what would it be? Ms. Bacigalupo, we'll start with you.
I would definitely recommend using the resources provided to you. I wish I had such easy access to all of this when I was in high school. We didn't have a Schoology course. We had to go to the College and Career Center and look through brochures and look at books. And now everything's at students' fingertips. So make sure that you're using it. I would tell students, do not let fear of making a decision prevent you from at least looking at some of the options that you have after high school, and meet with us. If you're feeling like you're not sure what to do, if you're feeling stress, anxiety, please come see us. We're more than happy to help.
Ms. Bacigalupo, I absolutely love that. That is a huge talking point that I have with seniors, but even at the junior level, it's okay to be unsure about what's next. It is okay to be uncertain, embrace those uncertainties, and let us help you find some clarity on things. Ms. Flores, same question.
Yeah, so last year I was wrapping up with the class of 2025, so I just experienced, what was all on their mind with senior year and everything. And one thing I feel like came up a lot was just that feeling of like, wait, like I'm applying to colleges with everything I did up until junior year, so just kind of like having that frame of mind of like, a year from now, yes, you'll be applying to colleges a year from now, but you'll be applying with the information from right now. So this year, focus on the grades you want to earn and the involvement you want to have. So like if your goal is to have a part-time job, work on getting that now. If there's a club or sport you were always interested in, make that happen now. Go to the first meeting now. Because this will be the year that goes by, and then you apply to colleges. So you want to have the involvement and the grades you want to apply to colleges with. So just take action, think of it from that timeline perspective, and enjoy the year. I know it can be a stressful year, and I say, do the things you want to do and aim for those goals, but with enjoyment and with, work-life balance for sure.
Yep, I tell my fifth grader every morning, Miss Flores, I expect three things of you at school, and that's to work hard, be kind, and have fun. And I think we can apply that to our juniors here as well. I have not seen any other comments come in. So on behalf of my colleagues here at McHenry High School, as well as McHenry County College, whether you're watching this live or watching the recorded version of this, we are grateful for your participation and engagement. And we will leave you with the question that we ask our students all the time: what are you looking forward to?